Hey guys, it's Eric. Today I want to actually talk about a pretty important topic for ostomates, and that is blockages and how to handle them. Now, I'm no stranger to blockages. I've had a couple of partial blockages throughout my ostomy career, but I've also been sent to the hospital because of a blockage, and I tell you guys, it is not fun at all. Just the word NG tube just puts the fear of God into my heart, and I really would want anyone to avoid a hospital visit because of a blockage, if possible. Now, for some of us, blockages are just part of the package. If you've got a digestive disorder, unfortunately, you might also have bowel obstructions and strictures and other things that come along with that. So I think for the most part, for people that don't have those pre-existing issues, blockages are something that's usually completely in your control. So I hope some of these tips will help to prevent blockages for you completely, or will guide you through them in the event that you develop one. Now, I can't stress enough, blockages are not something to joke about. If you suspect that you have a blockage and you're throwing up, or you feel nauseated, or there's just a lot of pain going on, I suggest that you head to your local ER and have them take care of you. Believe me guys, you do not want to run into problems when you have a blockage, and they do tend to be pretty common when you're a new ostomate. But a lot of veteran ostomates will still and can still get them if they're not careful. Blockage prevention. Now, for the most part, there are lists of foods that you do want to stay away from if you have some difficulties passing them. But I tend to look at things as more of how you eat food and not necessarily what you're eating. So for me, I tend to follow a couple rules when it comes to avoiding blockages. First of all, I always take my time when I eat. I know the one time that I actually landed in a hospital, I was rushing. I basically did everything wrong. So I was not chewing my food well. I was rushing through the meal. I was eating a lot of food all at once. And that really all just accumulated into one big problem. So the first thing that I do is I take my time now. Now, the second thing that I do is I chew. And I chew, and I chew, and I chew, and I chew. This perhaps is going to be the most important thing to remember when you're talking about the avoidance of a blockage. I think that chewing, is just so important. I can't stress this enough. You want to chew until your food is essentially liquefied. Yes, it'll take you a bit more time to eat, but believe me, it'll take you a lot more time to recover in a hospital. Now, another thing is the volume of food that you're eating. I tend to be someone that eats few meals a day, but when I do eat, it tends to be large meals, and that tends to cause problems for me. If you snack throughout the day and have, relatively moderate sized meals, then you're probably not going to have too many issues. But if you are like me and you gorge in a single meal, you're going to have a lot of trouble passing that through your system, and a lot of the times you'll probably get some partial blockages along the way. So if you can snack throughout the day, if you can split up your meals, that's definitely going to help in the long term. If you're a new ostomate, one thing that you should keep in mind is the fact that your stoma is going to be really swollen, and that prevents a lot of food from passing through it. And that's one of the reasons why every new ostomate is told to go on a very easy to digest, low fiber diet without any skins or whole nuts or anything like that. And that's actually pretty good information when you're a new ostomate. For me personally, once I got past that 1 or 2 month mark, then foods just became easier for me to digest. And as a matter of fact, my digestion strengthened for about a year, I would say, until I totally felt comfortable with eating and not getting blockages and that sort of thing. So it will take some time to readjust your system, but if you're a new ostomate, just hang in there. Believe me, it will get a lot better. Another thing that you can do, and I know a lot of people do this, is to have liquids with your meals. That will help to move things along, especially if you're having very high starch meals. I know for myself personally, if I'm eating a lot of potatoes and I'm not washing it down with some kind of liquid, I tend to have the feeling of a partial blockage, and that's not really that fun. Okay, so You think that you might have a blockage. What next? Well, first of all, it's important to note that not everyone's experience is going to be the same. For me, when I have a blockage, I tend to exhibit some of the following things. First of all, I'll have no output, and that's kind of a classic sign of a blockage. What I will have, though, is sometimes a bit of gas coming out of the stoma or liquid output, which is a little unusual for me. I'll also get the feeling of pressure behind my stoma. It's almost like you're trying to pass a baseball and just nothing's coming out. You feel that pressure, crampiness, and when I'm experiencing that, I actually do notice that my stoma is retracting. And if I'm wearing a clear pouch, I can see right away whether or not I've got an issue going on, if I've got a bit of pain. Now, when things start to get really bad and you've got a blockage for more than a few hours, what you might start to develop is nausea and in some extreme cases, vomiting. Now, when I was sent to the hospital with a blockage, vomiting was kind of my last step. Once I started throwing up, I went straight to the hospital, and they had to pump my stomach out and do all kinds of stuff. I probably waited a little too long. So I think if you're going to get to the point where you're going to wait till you're throwing up, you're probably going to run into some trouble. So I would recommend not doing what I did and try to get this sooner. Now, other people might have other symptoms to go along with a partial blockage. Some people might have very strong smelling output. And for some, that might be totally normal. But for others, if that's a drastic shift from what you're used to, then you might want to keep an eye on that. Now, it's important to note that if you have a blockage or if you suspect a partial blockage, don't eat anything. I know you would probably think that, hey, if I eat something, it's going to kind of push things along. And that's kind of not the good thing, okay? You don't want to be doing that. If you're blocked, even if it's a partial blockage, if you try to shove down food down your throat, it's just going to compact and create a bigger problem for you. What I generally try to do is I will have warm liquids, and this could either be just warm water or tea. And in some cases, I'll have even prune juice. But prune juice you really do have to watch out for, because if you have a complete blockage and you're drinking prune juice or any kind of laxative or products that will give you a laxative-like effect, you're going to create more issues for yourself. So I would only do that if I have a partial blockage and there is some output coming through, but not as much as I'd like, or not as much as I know is still in there. So that's really the only time when I'll use a prune juice or laxative-like product. I do not recommend at all taking a laxative. That can create many issues for you, and you absolutely don't want to do that unless your doctor has specifically instructed you. So what I find really helps when I feel partially blocked is to just massage around the stoma. Now, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to, intensely massage the area. Just push along your stoma, and if you have your wafer on, it'll basically be around the edge of the wafer or just slightly inside the border of that wafer. And just press down on some areas. And you may actually find that some areas are more tender than others. And I'll generally massage that, and I can massage that for several hours at a time, but eventually that will help to move things along that way. Along with massaging, I'll also bend my body like that, or forward, or do crunches, and that will also help to stretch things along inside and hopefully will loosen up anything that's stuck in there. It has worked for me in the past, may not for you, but it's something that you could definitely try. Now, a lot of people like to get into a very warm bath. That's something that I haven't personally tried, but I know that it's helped a lot of people. So if that's your thing, definitely go for that. Now, what I also tend to do if I find that I've got a really stubborn partial blockage is I'll actually remove my appliance altogether. For some of us, if we're putting our appliance on and it's a little too tight, especially if you're a newer ostomate and your stoma is swollen, just removing your appliance will help to open things up. And, if there's anything just stuck behind the opening of your stoma, it should help to come out once you've done that. So that might be another thing that can help you. So guys, those are a few of the things that I do when I'm blocked and some of the things that I do to avoid blockages. Again, I do want to make sure that you realize blockages are not a joke. You do want to talk to your doctor or head to the ER if you suspect you have a blockage, but it doesn't mean you need to be freaked out about not being able to eat or not being able to eat some of your favorite foods. For me personally, it's more about how I eat, not what I eat. So that's one thing that I'd like you to remember too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.